Hi everyone, I'm Luke Hector from the Broken Meeple, and thanks for joining me on another video. If you like what you see, please remember to leave a like and a comment. It means the world to me to know that you're appreciating the content, which I know you're doing for a lot of these top 100, so I can't thank you enough for it. Don't forget there's also a little mini Patreon campaign if you want to help support the channel even further. So now we're really getting into the creme de la creme games here. 50 of my favourite games ever. We're talking ratings of 9 and 10 across the board. These are like benchmarks that I use for different genres and that, and that's kind of what I get at when I talk about a 10 out of 10 game, because I got asked this in the comments recently actually, and it was a legit good question. But the idea of, do I rate games a bit too highly? The fact that I have 50 games that I rate around a 9 and a 10, I honestly don't believe that personally, because honestly, when you think that the board game genre has got like thousands and thousands of games released every year, for me to have 50 that I consider to be 9s and 10s, I mean yeah, there's a few other 9s and 10s, but yeah, 50 out of thousands of games, and I'm pretty certain I've played a 4-digit figure of games in my life. It's like 50 is not a high number to have with 9s and 10s. If anything, I probably rate games worse than most other games, you know, so if I have to kind of nip that one in the bud, I think. You know, yes, these are going to be highly rated games. That's why they're my 50 favourite games. But as I say, you don't want to hear me rant on that sort of thing. I thought it was a cool question, and I just thought I'd answer it on the video and just like get it out there in terms of honesty and that. So, you know, without further ado, enough rambling.
Get on with it.
And we're back with the Tablet of Doom, or at least I think it's a Tablet of Doom. It bricks every time I try to play Descent Legends of the Dark on it. I need to sell this thing. But, yep, we're on to my 50 favourite games, and just to let you know, with this 10, there's only one debut, the rest of them you've seen before. A few movers, you know, but fairly steady, I think, this time. These are relatively steady ones. So, number 50 is regarded as one of the hardest co-op games that you can play. This one will punish you straight out the gate, but it is rich, thematic, juicy goodness. There's just recently been a GameFound project to bring like a revised version of it out, which I did back because I want those upgrades and that enhanced like tutorial scenario badly. Yep, this is probably Ignacy Trzewicz's most famous game, and that is Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe just hits my top 50 games. It is wonderfully rich and thematic. Going into all these different scenarios on an island, you're trying to survive, build your shelter, fight off animals, and then the scenario can dictate whether you got to build campfires, raise a family, fight off cannibals, go find lost treasure, explore, all sorts of different things that you can do. But it's hard as nails. This game is willing to punish you at every way, shape or form. Go watch the Dice Towers playthrough where they teach Sam Healey how to play it ages ago. It was one of the funniest playthrough videos I've ever watched. You know, other playthrough people, take note. But it's so much fun. But even then, they got the designer to play it with them, and they still lost badly. You know, this is a game that's not easy, but it's still great fun. It tells a story every time you play the game. All of it is just like, I don't know, you get so immersed in it. And the rules, like I say, the rules are always a bit of a hoo-ha thing. You know, you've got a lot to learn, and if you put it down for a while, you gotta then like, I'm gonna have to relearn this one a bit. Hang on, let me just get that. But this new version that's coming out with the tutorial scenario in it, oh, that's gonna be so good. That's like exactly what you need to get more people into this game, and I think more people should. I know that I mentioned First Martians before, and I know that didn't get anywhere near the level of buzz as this, but like I say, I still give that one some decent credit. But of course, you can't say no to a bit of Robinson Crusoe. Before I get on to the 49, I just have to say Robinson Crusoe climbed 3 places, so it's literally done an opposite of the Ticket to Ride one. Ticket to Ride could never get into the top 50. This one literally just boop into the top 50. Well, this one on the other hand has dropped 15 places. Not a big deal, it's just out of my 30s and in my 40s. I still really enjoy the game, but I feel that having to get an expansion just to get some half-decent component boards was a little bit of an annoyance, especially when the box wasn't big enough to hold all the game in. Seriously, people, can you not build boxes to hold everything in? It irks me so much. But, despite that, the game is an excellent game. It is right down there, Underwater Cities from Vladimir Suchy and Delicious Games. It's a great Euro game where, yes, it's dry as a bone. Yeah, I'm supposedly underwater, and just because kelp is a resource doesn't suddenly make it thematic, but that card system in it is why I like it so much. I love that. All these different cards with different effects, and you've got to play the game very tactically. Yes, you've got a strategy to say, alright, I'm going to aim for lots of farms, or I'm going to aim for going for all those metropolises and stuff like that, but for the most part, you're kind of playing tactically with the cards you get. And the idea being that you place the cards on these action spaces to trigger the action, but if you can match the color as well, you also get the bonus on the card. And there's ones that are permanent, production, one-off bonuses, and it's just a really cool thing to have, like, a hand of cards going, if I go over there I can get the action, I really need it, but I really want to play it with yellow. It's like, can I use this yellow? And it's like, you could just go there and get the location action, but I never want to. I always want to match a color, and sometimes that's detrimental to what I'm supposed to be doing, but I really want to match the color. I want all the bonuses, and it just sucks me right in. The expansion basically gave you dual layered boards, which you need because you've got a lot of stuff you've got to balance on those boards otherwise. It's like, but to have dual layered boards, the expansion is a must buy just to get those. As for the rest of the stuff, it's like, okay, it's more stuff to add to the game, more cards, some asymmetric player powers, that kind of thing. But even if you just got the base game, you've still got a really solid, heavy Euro. I mean, playing this with 4 players, I'm a little bit like, I'm not so sure. The game length goes on a little bit long, and this can really lead to some AP. But 3 or less players, or even playing it solo, has actually been pretty good, you know, just because of that card system. It's been pretty solid for me. Yeah, it's dropped 15 places, but it's still in the top half of my list. I still really, really like this game, and I didn't think I was going to. Because normally, Vladimir Suchy is not that high on my list of favorite designers. A lot of his older stuff, like, what's the one with like a million rondelle? Shipyard? Yeah, that's it. And a couple of others I was never really that big of a fan of, but then there's 2 games of his, I think, that I go absolutely mad for, and I didn't mind Prager Kaput Regne either, so it's like, you know, maybe his newer stuff's starting to sing to me a little bit more. But like I say, still really solid year, and I bet you there's a lot of people out there who would agree that this one probably even should be higher on the list, let alone in my top 50. Underwater Seas at 49. 48 has dropped 8 places from 40, so it's still in the 40s, no big deal. This is the second favourite game of a certain publisher, who I've already mentioned before when I was talking about a game related to a Disney Pixar movie, Inside Out. But this is essentially, if you want to compare that previous one to Inside Out, this one is basically the board game version of The Prestige, as in the magician movie with, who was in it? Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. Yeah, so this is Tricarion, Legends of Illusion, or whatever the tagline is. Who cares? It's called Tricarion. This is a great Mind Clash Euro. It is pretty complex, it's pretty heavy, especially when you throw in the Dalgard Academy expansion, but it's such a cool expansion. But this is a great thematic Euro, with the exception of the tricks that you got to do with the theatre. That's a little bit on the mechanical side, but that movie, The Prestige, it's such an underrated movie. Go watch it. It's basically like 2 rival mages, like, sort of competing against each other, and then some weird sci-fi stuff in the background. But it's like, it's just a really cool movie, and that's what this board game is. You're all essentially rival magicians. You're trying to put on shows at the theatre, you know, get the most like views and fame. You're setting up these tricks that you've got to plan ahead for. They can evolve into better tricks. With the expansion, you can even upgrade your tricks to give them little extra bonuses. You've got different people that you hire that give you different bonuses at different locations. It's got a lot in it. I could not explain it all, but essentially it's a worker placement game. Here's your tile from, let's say, this particular character has a certain amount of power rating. Put it on the location, and you can spend those power points to do various actions. And, you know, it's very heated as to what spots you can go to. I mean, it's quite like very tight board, but you've got to plan ahead for what trick to get, where to get the parts for that trick, what bonuses you need to get it in the theatre, what night do you want to put it in the theatre. There's a lot in this game. But the collector's edition on my shelf is a thing of beauty and really drastically helps with the setup time. Cool, blimey, that used to be a problem. But yeah, it's a really cool one. I think this was actually the last of the Mind Clash games I played. I'm pretty certain I played a certain other one first. I played Inside Out probably second, and then this one was like last to the table, despite the fact that I think this one got released first. I just never got a chance to play it until my friends showed me it, and once they did, yoink, ka-ching, I bought it, and I'm glad I backed that Kickstarter edition as well. You know, great big square red cube on my shelf in the I wonder where it is. It's either in that room or that room, but I can't remember. As I say, Tricarion, fantastic game at 48. Okay, my 47 has been kind of consistent with the last one, actually. This one also fell 8 places, so the last one was 40 and this one is 39. Don't ask me how that happened, but I've mentioned games from a certain designer called Vital Lacerda. You may have heard of him. And I've mentioned that there are other games that I prefer in his lineup, and there's even a couple that I outright hate. But this is, spoiler alert, my second favourite of all the Lacerda games, and this actually was kind of my favorite for a little while, but it's been overtaken now. But this one is definitely, I think, one of the easier ones to get people into. Some people will say Escape Plan is the one that you should get people into. The problem is, Escape Plan isn't a very good game. Oh yeah, whatever, controversial. But this one is my go-to. Right, you want to get into a Vital Lacerda game. Right, this is the first one I'm bringing out. That's the Gallerist. The Gallerist is a brilliant Euro game. It is a great theme, really elegant and smooth for a heavy game. You've only got 4 action spots with 2 actions apiece. The rulebook is really well done. Paul Grogan had a hand in this one, and you can tell. The rulebook is so easy to go through. The step-by-step reference guides also help you for all the different actions, but it's intuitive into what you're doing. You're basically running an art gallery. Okay, so I gotta get art. How do I get art? Go find the artist. All right, I'll go discover the artist, get bonuses. Then I'll go get the art, more bonuses. And then I'll go sell the art abroad, or I'll get investors interested. Okay, fine. I need to make the art more worth value. How do I do that? Make the artist more famous. Okay, I'll go boost its popularity. There's a lot of ways that the theme just helps the mechanics link so well together. But mechanically, it's got some really cool things I like in Euro games. Firstly, I love the worker placement aspect where there's only 4 spots to go and you only have 1 pawn, but if you bump someone off, if they're willing to pay the influence for it, they can get a bonus action. So you're not only thinking about where you want to go, you're a little bit concerned as to whether you want to bump off the player that's already sitting there, because you give someone too many bonus actions, there's a good chance that they'll sort of run away with the game. But I like the idea that it means that you're not just sitting there waiting for it to always be your turn, although you can sometimes get a bit of a gap if there's a lot of bonus actions, but chances are you're going somewhere hoping someone will bump you off, and so you can't just switch off in between your turn. You have to think, oh, come on, kick me off, yes! Right, what am I going to do as soon as it's my turn? You know, that's always quite rewarding. But on the subject of rewarding, the bonuses. This is like one of those games where everything you do gets you a bonus. Right, I'll go discover this artist. Ooh, bonus tile. Ooh, I'll get one of those scoring tiles. Ooh, it goes on that space. Ooh, bonus. I'll flip over this contract and put a meeple on it. Ooh, bonus. It's that bonus thing that I love in a lot of heavy Euros, where you feel like you're getting rewarded for everything. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win the game, but you don't feel like the game is punching you left, right, and center. You feel like the game is going, well done, you know, well done, that was very good. Have this little present there. There you go. And it says, doesn't that just feel a little bit more rewarding? I know can't think of a better word, but it just feels nicer to get that. Looks gorgeous, great theme, great rulebook, great everything. This is a fantastic heavy Euro, one of my favorites at 47, the Gallerist. Is it me or is it very hot in here? It's very humid, I gotta admit. Whew. It gets warm in this room when you can't put on, when you got no AC, door shut, window shut for the noise, and you got lights beaming on you. It's like, gets hot. Right, well, this is a hot game for me as well. This is the debut for the list, and I gotta say, I've really been singing the praises of this series lately, although to call it a series is a little bit of a misnomer, I suppose. It's just got a common bit in its name. They're not actually related to each other. But I played this a few years ago at the UK Games Expo as a one-off. It's called Whistle Stop. What? I basically tried it then, and I thought, this seems pretty good. But we were distracted. It was one of Paul Grogan's parties at the Games Expo. Played it once, free player, was learning it, and I thought, this is good. I think I should come back to this later. 3 years later, I actually decided to, oh yeah, I was meant to try that game out. Why is it taking me 3 years to find it? So I tried to find it, and I thought, that's pretty expensive. Got a second-hand copy, and I thought, great, let's do it. Let's play it. It's now my number 46. Whistle Stop is a really great, fun Euro game. And you're thinking, wait a minute, Luke, this is trains. This is trains, Luke. You feeling hot? Are you feeling hot? You sure it's not too hot in this room? No. I like this game. It could be taxis, it could be buses, it could be airplanes for all I care. I don't care what mode of transportation you use, but this isn't like a train 18XX style game, even though there are shares in this for set collection, but I'll get on that. But it's the fun thing with this is that the rules are super smooth and elegant. Like, there's barely any rules in the game. Once you get past the setup, which is a little fiddly, I gotta admit, you know, it's pretty easy what you do on your turn. You've got 4 action points, you spend coal to move. Here's a couple of restrictions on how you move, and you just move your train and go to the different spots and get the resources and trade them in to buy shares or various other ways of points. so cool. You know, it's so, well, so cool. It's so smooth and elegant. The cool part is the way that you build the map. And I love these games where you've got an ever-changing board state that's different every game. Here, you're placing these hexes that create these network-like routes for the trains, a bit like Tsuro, where you've got all these paths and all sorts of weird combinations. So as people are laying the tracks down, the tracks are going all over the place and creating all sorts of different layouts for the board. But it enables like a lot of different tactical opportunities as well, because you're thinking, I really want to get to there. Well, hang on, if I put the hex down this way, I can go round there, back there, maybe spend a whistle, jump over you, get that resource, and then next turn I can go into that spot, which will then propel me to there. It's like, there's a lot of cool choices like that, which are not too brain-burny, but I love these kind of spatial awareness games where I got to think, right, I'm on that spot, I want to get to that spot. What's the best way for me to do it? Use these hexes, blip, 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 pew. You know, there's my route. It feels satisfying when you pull off great combos. It's the expansion, Rocky Mountain, I think it was called, like a must-buy, I think, for this game. It makes it a little bit longer, gotta admit, but it just expands that board a little bit, puts in a mountain bit with like extra bonuses and extra tiles. You get upgrades to give you special abilities that you can buy from other players, which doesn't happen often, but still, it's there. And it's such a cool game, and I never thought, where is it? I think it's downstairs now, but why did it take me so long to get back into this? You know, this basically unlocked Scott Caputo as a designer for me. You know, it was like, oh yes, I want to check out more of his stuff. It even opened me a bit more to Bezier games, because normally Bezier games were kind of like Suburbia and like the One Night Werewolf stuff, and it's like, I need more stuff. And it's like, and as soon as I play Whistle Stop, oh yeah, it surprised me a lot. Sorry it took me so long to do so, but honestly, if you get a chance to play this game, give it a shot. It really is pretty solid. Debuting at 46 for Whistle Stop. My number 45 has dropped 9 places. We've had 2 drop by 8 and this one dropped by 9. So I gotta admit, some of this list is a little bit consistent with the one from last year, but oh, well, hopefully you're not looking at it for spoilers. But this is a solo game from Sashi, and I really want to try more games from the Sashi and Sashi publisher, because if they're as good as this one, I want to try more. And maybe when I go to Essen soon, I kind of need to pop over to Japanime Games and maybe try and find some more Sashi stuff, because Coffee Roaster is still a really solid one in my collection. And I've got the Stronghold version now because I wanted the kind of more modern style artwork as opposed to the cartoony one before. But like I say, both are good. And for a while, you couldn't even get this game outside of the Korea nation. So it's like, you know, certainly needed to be like that. But or was it Korea? I don't know. It was a Korea or Taiwan. I'm trying to remember. But yeah, the game itself is just a really cool solo game about making coffee. Nice, pleasant little theme. It's a bag building game. I was about to say dice. A bag building game where you've got these tokens depending on what recipe you do. Water, different beans, burnt beans, smoke, that kind of thing, and different flavorings. And the idea is that you draw tokens out of the bag depending on the stage you're at. And you manipulate these tokens to try and level up the beans so they've got higher ratings, to clear out the water, to get rid of the smoke, use the flavorings and these weird little combos that you can pull off on your player board to say, right, I'm going to put these 2 flavorings here and then draw 5 out of the bag, keep 3, ditch 2, that, you know, that kind of thing. And once you're done, once you're ready to roast your coffee, you essentially go, right, that's it, and then you brew the coffee itself. Draw a bunch of tokens out of the bag, put it in the mug on the other side of the player board, and add up the ratings, add up the flavorings, and see how good you are on the score track for that particular coffee. 3 levels of difficulty. You can play this in 10 minutes by 1 at a time. You can play it in about half an hour to do 3 recipes. It's not easy, or I just suck at the game, because I'm not generally very good at this, but it's just so pleasant and smooth. I mean, I love coffee now. I used to drink nothing but tea. Now it's tea and coffee. And I dare say I probably drink more coffee than I do tea, mainly because there's only so much I can do with a mug of tea in terms of its flavor. But there's a lot of different ways that you can get different flavorings of coffee. And also, I need a caffeine pick me up on a regular basis. So in the morning, coffee it is. But still, love the game. Nice and simple. Fairly easy rules. It's a little fiddly to remember what all the flavorings and that do, so sometimes you need to refer back to the book for that. But I like the variety in it. It's a smallish box. Obviously, it's not the most portable solo game in the world, but yeah, it's kind of like a Zen game. It just makes you feel quite, you know, you actually want to have a cup of coffee while you play this game. You know, very nice, really cool solo game. Coffee Roaster still remaining consistently high on my top 100. My number 44 has dropped quite a bit actually, 18 places. This is the biggest drop on this list by one, but still, it's still the biggest drop from 26, and this is from Pandasaurus Games. I still love this game, alright? This game is still really great, fantastic, wonderfully thematic. If anything, the problem I have with it is that it's a little bit hard to teach people, and certainly now that I've got the expansion to it, it's bloated. There's a lot of stuff in that expansion you're not really going to use often, and trying to remember, right, I've got to set this bit up, you know, it's a table hog. It's certainly a bit of a mission to set up and take down. But Dinosaur Island is still a fantastic game. I actually played it fairly recently at KCON, actually. I think someone had it and we played it. And again, loved the game. We were teaching a couple of new players, and I'm trying to remember what kind of park I made. I think I stuck to herbivores and built a lot of roller coaster rides. But you know, really enjoy that game. You know, I haven't actually backed Dinosaur World, funny enough. They never offered me a review copy, and I didn't back the Kickstarter because I kind of thought this looks a bit too similar to Dinosaur Island. So I'm kind of curious as to how much differentiation there is. But I figured I wasn't going to need both in my collection, so I was kind of happy with Island. But I hope to get a play of it when it comes out on release. Maybe I can get a copy of Essen and then review it at some point. But love this one though. Building up your Jurassic Park. Here we go. I want to get my little dinosaurs. I want to get the DNA and mix and make the T-Rex, make a Velociraptor. If you take the Velociraptor, you lose the game because I love Velociraptors and I want Velociraptors in my park.
Can someone get me a petrified mosquito with the DNA of a dinosaur with some goddamn rhythm?
It's like, leave my Velociraptors alone. But that whole building a theme park, getting the staff, getting the rides, trying to hope that hooligans don't sneak into your park and don't pay you, not being too phased if the odd person gets eaten. Oh, whoops, you know, oh dear. Whatever, that's what we got lawyers for.
There'll be plenty of time to discuss your objections when and if you return.
You know, honestly, how does this park stay open when people just get eaten or stomped on a regular basis? And as I found out last game, I won it comfortably, but surprising how many people die from getting stomped by brontosauruses, but I don't know, like I say, there were warning signs there for a reason. But yeah, really enjoy it. The Kickstarter version just went mad with how this game looks and feels, with the metal coins that I swear weigh more than most human beings. They're kind of ridiculous in how chunky and heavy they are, but yeah, really good thematic game. It's dropped a bit. It hadn't got played for a while, I think because of the long setup time, but when I played it recently, it's like, yeah, love this game, still love it, it's just kind of good when someone else does the setup for you. 44 is still brilliant though, I still rate this incredibly high. Dinosaur Island. My number 43 dropped 11 places. Is this my favourite deduction game? You'll have to see, but this is definitely one of my favourite heavy deduction games, if not me favourite. This is from McNasty Trevor Check again, from Puddle Games. I've been singing the praises about this ever since it came out, and I was really humbled actually that on one of his recent vlog videos where he was talking about, I think, like the history of some of the games that had come out, like Gen Con's based, he mentioned like going on about how this game was released, and he actually mentioned my blog name as to like saying how good it was. It's like, thanks, Ignacy, that makes me feel really good. But, you know, to hear you say that. But yeah, Detective, a modern crime board game. This is still a really good fun deduction game, packed full of story and what is essentially a deck of cards and an app. You've got the deck of cards to read the story and lead on to things like, do I interview the suspect? Do I go talk to the witness? Do I go like analyze these fingerprints at the lab? Let me just check out this gun. Shall I go to the house next door to see if they know anything? But all the while, you're also typing out on the app, so beep, beep, boop, 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 you know, getting in all the fingerprints and seeing the mug shots, all this data, looking on Wikipedia for historical links that can give you clues. I mean, it is heavy. You need to have your thinking cap on here. There's a lot of stuff to do. You need to be doing mind maps and everything all over the place, trying to sort out what's going on, and I'm not very good at that sort of thing. I need someone else there to do all the note taking. But I love playing this mainly as a solo game. You can play this 2 and 3 player and you'll still have a pretty good time. 4, I think, is probably a bit too much. But the thing with this is that it just makes for a really good heavy solo game. Like, I want to spend 60 to 90 minutes really getting into an in-depth deduction detective style story, and the expansions just added up new themes. I mean, you've got the standalone cases. There was Detective Season 1, which I actually would say from my review, Detective Season 1 is actually the best way to enter this game. Don't actually buy Detective the big box set. Buy Season 1, or was it Season 0 or whatever it was called. You know, buy that one, the free standalone cases, because that will teach you all you need to know about Detective, but it's not a campaign setting. So it's actually much better for new gamers. But, you know, grab the big campaign at some point because it's such a good interwoven story and complicated as all get out. But then, and they got a thing about talking about food a lot. But then my favourite is probably still the 80s one that they did next. I forget what it was called. LA Crimes, I think it was called. It basically gave me an excuse to go onto Spotify and say, right, I want to play, let's see, Die Hard, Beverly Hills Cop, Lethal Weapon, you know, basically all these 80s shows, particularly the cop ones, where you can get those soundtracks. Oh man, it made that such a thematic experience. And it was a pretty good 3-part campaign as well. But this one is just like, I can keep the base box and then just play all the standalone cases that they release. They've done print and play ones. Have I done those? I'm not sure. There's a couple of even like the ones on the side that I still haven't even played yet that other designers are doing. You know, I need to get around to doing those. But yeah, I mean, this is something that can just sit there and get evolved over time. And I even really enjoyed the Vienna Connection spin-off one that they did before. Granted, it has its flaws in terms of like, not really much of a difficulty curve to it, but I really like the story and the setting that Vienna Connection one did. I know it was a bit more of a divisive one there, but yeah, still enjoyable for me. Yeah, this is a really solid, wonderfully thematic deduction game. Detective and Modern Crime board game, is it my favourite of this genre? We'll have to see, but 43 still going strong. Number 42 has not moved. It stayed at 42 somehow. It went 42 last year, it's 42 this year. So if you've somehow memorized last year's list, or for whatever bizarre reason you've got it in front of you, why? But then you'll know what this game is. This is from Ludi Creations, and it is a reprint, a re-implementation, it's actually a straight up reprint, of an old classic game called On the Underground. I believe it is still down there. This is a brilliant, very light, sort of route connection game. This is Ticket to Ride levels of simplicity in terms of its rule set. I mean, this is gateway gamer friendly. But I will say that maybe the whole how the passenger moves and stuff might flummox a few new gamers, but it's still pretty light. And also don't play it with more than 3 players. Wow. It goes up to 5 players. Do not play this with 5. Preferably don't play it with 4. Cap it at 2 and 3, or get the mini expansion, which makes you play it solo, which is actually one of the best solo modes I've seen for a game. It really is really good. But this one is a train network game where you're on either the Berlin or the London metro system, and you're putting down little wooden bits to create a network for your train to go through. And you don't have a physical train, you're just building the network on the map. But the idea is that you have a passenger, the laziest passenger in the world. Although given that some of the meeples are actually people in wheelchairs or a pregnant lady or an old man with a cane, I think we can gloss over the idea of a lazy passenger by now. But the idea with this is that that passenger doesn't want to walk anywhere. So to get from A to B, which they'll do every round, there's a set rule as to how they travel, what destinations they'll go to from a set of cards. It depends on what route they take. And the idea is that you want them to use your networks as much as possible because it gets you points. But they will do the one that makes them walk the least distance. So it doesn't matter if literally the place is there. You know, if I've got to walk to that place, that's not good enough. But if I get to go on this merry-go-round loop all the way over there and all the way back there and up to Timbuktu and back, and then get to my destination, and I didn't have to walk a single step, it'll take that route. And so when that happens, you'll score points for the network. So you're trying to build networks that not only get you points by connecting to various landmarks and other spots on the board, but you're trying to gauge, right, well, if the passenger is going to move to there, then it's going to use that network, so I better move, I'll extend my network to there, then it takes my one and skips yours. Or maybe you might think, well, you know what, I can't even do anything with the passenger, so I'm just going to build a network over here, get some other points, and wait for later. You might think, you know what, I can't do anything about the passenger this round, but he's going to be over there soon, and probably stay around that side of the board for a while. Let me put a few train networks there, just in preparation for when it eventually comes out again. It's got a lot of great tactical decisions, but the rule set is basically 4 action points, 2 things that you can do, plonk your networks down. It's so straightforward. It looks gorgeous and striking on the board. It's got that stark white board with the network printed on it and different colors for the different routes you can take. As I say, Do not play this with 4 or 5 players, it doesn't really work, it's far too chaotic and too long, but 2 or 3 players, this is such a great game, and the solo expansion has you basically try to beat an AI scoring marker with 2 pre-built networks while the passenger keeps moving twice a turn and you build up your networks. Such an easy solo mode, it's a mini expansion, you gotta buy it separately from Ludi Creations, but honestly, I forget what it's called. I can't remember the name of it, but let's say solo mini expansion. David Turksey had his hand in it, and if you can get it, highly recommend it. On the Underground, brilliant your little light Euro game at 42. And my 41 is the next big drop. 17 places this has fallen from 24. Not a big deal really. Like I say, if you're in my top 50, you're rated 9 and 10s. I still love you. But this one hasn't got played for a while because I've been wanting to play a lot of other heavy Euro games, and this one has probably just, I don't know, it's got a lot of setup. There's quite a lot to teach. I don't want to play it with more than 4 players, even though it can go up to 7, which is ridiculous. In fact, it's so ridiculous I've actually taken out the boards for 6th and 7th player and put them in my spares, so it's not possible to play my copy with more than 5 players because that's ridiculous. But this is the great, well, it's not fully sandbox, but this is definitely a do what you like farming game with some restrictions, but with a bit of a fantastical element to it. Caverna, the cave farmers. Move over Agricola, there is Caverna. Caverna was easily my replacement for Agricola. Now, Agricola is a cool game, but I don't like the restrictive nature of it. I don't like how you must get children and there's only one spot on the board to get a child, and so if you don't get it, you're screwed. I don't like the idea that you must get a little bit of everything, otherwise you lose a colossal amount of points and the game. It's like, you know, oh, I'm doing this stuff with sheep and cows, but at some point I gotta grab myself a carrot, you know, just because points. It's like, that's annoying. Here though, yeah, you might lose a little bit of points for not having certain animals, but that's about it, and you can easily mitigate that. You know, I might decide, you know what, I don't want any cows, I don't want any pigs, I'm just gonna have all the sheep. I want all the sheep, so I'll take all the sheep. You still get all the points in the world, it doesn't cap like in Agricola, so you can do that. And it's got a similarity, but you build room tiles in your cave, you put like landscape tiles on the outside, so you got like a 2-part board, and so you're either doing farming outside for food, or you're doing mining and special ability rooms indoors, but you can even go on adventures to get more resources, so you can kit out your dwarfs with like weapons in order to go, right, I'm gonna go on a hunting spree and it brings back this. There's a lot of variety you can do. You don't have to get a maximum amount of children in this game. There's more ways to get children as well, but honestly, you can have only a few dwarfs and still do pretty well if you've got a pretty efficient engine going. But I just love being able to do what I want in this. You know, I want to do all the sheep. Fine, you know, let's just farm all the sheep. All right, I'm never gonna venture outside. I'm an albino clan. I'm just gonna stay indoors, mine gems, and be, well, dwarfs really. So it's like, fine, I'm gonna do that. I never set foot outside. I somehow get through the game with just mining, donkeys, and lots of rooms. Maybe you'll do the complete opposite, and it's like, well, you know what, I only use my cave to sleep in, but I am a tribe of normal farmers. And then you throw in the expansion Forgotten Folk, and you end up with all these different races that have all got different perks and disadvantages, and different little styles of play, and I love that expansion. Saying that I'm gonna play the halflings, or the stone golems, or the goblins, it's like such a great addition to the game, even though you can argue whether it's better for new gamers or not. If you're playing the game generally, the players who are new to the game might not necessarily know what it is they need to do. But if you throw in the Forgotten Folk with a new player, then technically their faction guides them in a certain direction. So you could argue it's better for new players because they'll play the elves, for example, and they'll go, no, I'm not particularly good indoors, so maybe I shouldn't focus on indoors. I should stick outdoors. And so I think that helps guide them. But I hear there's another expansion coming out for this, which will have even more stuff, so I can't wait for that. But yeah, I need to get this to the table again. It just hasn't seen play in a while. It's a huge box. There's a lot to set up. But it's a wonderfully good Euro game. I love the farming theme. It just works. I mean, maybe that's because I'm from Somerset. You know, maybe that's something built into my blood, even though I've never worked on a farm in my life. But like the theme, like the variety, I like the flexibility it offers you. It's just a brilliant Euro game. Caverna the Cave Farmers still strong at 41. Whew, and actually, let's not put this down just yet. Let's have a think. You know, next, there is no debut on the next set of 10. all the other set of 10. So the next 20 games I talk about are ones that you have seen before. But have they risen? Have they fallen down? There's a mix of the two, actually. So all I can definitely tell you for certain is that, as with all these games, they're fantastic. At least in my opinion. There's been a few of you that have been commenting like, I've gone through 30 or 40 of your games and I love the series, but I've yet to find a game I like. Seriously? Out of that many games? I mean, what games are on your top 100 if none of mine are on yours? I don't know at all. I'd be interested to know, but, you know, some people are already trying to put their top 100s in the comments, but hey, whatever. It's good fun reading. So, alright. Let's see, what we got? 40 games to go. We're getting closer and closer to the, shall we say, the ever-popular top 10 of all time. I think that's going to be a fun list to do, and it's going to have some surprises in there. But, yeah. I love this. I love doing this. It's just taking me a while. So obviously this is going to roll into October. And obviously I got to deal with a convention this weekend next weekend after I record this. And of course Essen is coming up, which is obviously going to eat into a good week of recording time. But yeah, like I say, I'm getting on with this. By the end of October, we should have the entire top 100 done. At least that is my aim. So yeah. Thanks for being patient, thanks for enjoying this series, and I'll get on with the next one. So thanks for joining me on this video. If you like what you see, please remember to leave a like and a comment. It means the world to me to know you appreciate the content. The channel is officially sponsored by Zatu.co.uk, and if you want to check out some more videos on the channel, you can check out the start of the top 100 right here so that you can get on if you're coming to this a bit late, or maybe you want something a little bit different and you'd like a certain compilation review I did recently, then check out that one as well. Take care, and remember as always, it's only a game. Bye for now, everyone.